All right, today I want to dive into how to achieve financial independence sooner than maybe you plan. Good day, everybody. Chris Herline here of REAP Financial, host of Retire Ready TV on KXAN and host of Wealth Radio every Saturday, 11 a.m. here on News Radio KLBJ here in Central Texas. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I drop new content on this channel every single Wednesday. All right, today I want to dive into how to achieve financial independence sooner than maybe you plan. Now, there's ways to do this, but it takes proactive planning. And be sure to watch till the end because I'm going to show you a key element to getting across the finish line if you want to retire early someday. Okay, first step, it's pretty easy. We want to think through when we want to retire. What's your proximity? How many more years do you want to work? A lot of you watching this, you may have 20, 30 years left. Many of you may have 1 to 2. Maybe you just don't know. The bottom line is you need to start with a target. When do we want to retire by? Because that's going to dictate, obviously, how much money we need saved, and more importantly, how much money it's going to take to maintain your standard of living in retirement. The interesting thing about working into your 60s, what we find for those that are successful, have saved, and are getting close to retirement is that every year that they work, so you're in your 60s, every year you work, on average, buys you 2 years in retirement. Obviously, as long as you're saving, maxing out contributions in these highest earning years. But think about it, 1 year can buy you 2 years in retirement. That's a good starting point. All right, 2, we gotta make a list of financial priorities. First and foremost, this is the time to be thinking about knocking out liabilities. If you gotta do some things around the house, you wanna buy a new car, we wanna pay off the mortgage, we do that stuff when we've got the big check coming in, not after. So we wanna prioritize paying down expensive debt down to the stuff that's less expensive, but hopefully have everything knocked out as far as debt and liabilities prior. If there's one debt service we want to see knocked out, it's typically the mortgage, because that, for most of you, is the largest payment that's being paid out of your bank every month. So that's the right prioritization as far as getting the big debts down. Okay, now this is time to start considering taxes. You know, when you're working W-2, you don't have a lot of, you don't have a lot of options. There's very few things that you can do to reduce your income, pay less taxes. Things like contributing to your IRAs, your SEP IRAs, your 401ks, okay? There's very few things. But in retirement, you can have more control. You can have more control than any time in your life, but you gotta plan properly. The other thing that I wanna mention is that taxes for most successful retirees, believe it or not, they get more complicated when you retire. Why is that? Well, you don't have W-2 income anymore. Now you have a bunch of accounts. You get to decide what accounts you're gonna live on, and they're all taxed differently typically. And you've got Medicare to navigate, Social Security to navigate. Maybe you're gonna do some Roth conversions. Maybe you're gonna sell some company stocks or downsize your home. All of these type of things create tax triggers. So start by thinking about proactive tax planning into your retirement, not just saving taxes today. That's big. Yeah, when I talk about all these different complexities in your taxes in retirement, well, one that comes to mind is Social Security. The average American doesn't even understand that they're gonna pay Social Security on their check every single month. And under today's law, 85% of your Social Security is taxable at your marginal rate. Another one that blindsides retirees is the stealth tax. This is what I call the American stealth tax. Stealth is, the root word of stealth is steal, okay? And when I say it's stealthy, it's because the government means test your Medicare. So your premiums are dictated not by your net worth, but by your income. So the more income you have, the larger capital gains you have in retirement, the more you may pay for Medicare. And the families we work with that have done that job of saving and have a nice lifestyle to maintain, they can find themselves paying hundreds of thousands of dollars more for the same Medicare coverage that their neighbor's getting just because they did a good job of saving or have a nice lifestyle. It's stealthy. But are you prepared for that? It's not a tax, but you're paying more for the same thing. I think I made my point on that. The Roth conversions can also create tax implications. Every dollar you convert counts as income in the given year, but if you convert too much, you're pushing yourself up in brackets and you may push yourself up into higher Medicare tiers. 73 or 75, whether you want the money or not, you're forced to pull money out of your IRAs and 401ks via what's called required distributions. And this is where things can get very complicated, because if you got sizable amounts in these accounts, the amount that you're forced to pull out can be very sizable as well. And we see families that will jump tax brackets, if not the first year, maybe a few years into the RMD landscape. And so you must coordinate where you're pulling your money, how much you're pulling from each account, tie that into your required distributions, your Social Security income. You can see why most of our clients at REIT Financial utilize our vetted CPAs to handle their taxes throughout the year. So many of you may be doing TurboTax, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm sharing with you is a little secret. Things do get more complicated. And you may be shocked to hear that the majority of clients we serve, they're in the same tax bracket, if not a higher tax bracket, in retirement. They never saw it coming. Hey, quick tip, go to REITfinancial.com. We've got some great retirement resources for all of our YouTube viewers at no cost. That's REITfinancial.com. And be sure to leave your questions and comments down below on topics you want me to make future videos on. Okay, so we're talking about retiring early. When it comes to Social Security, there's a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. I've talked for years about claiming strategies. I'm not talking about that right now. What I want to talk about is the date that you do claim is paramount to your success from retirement. The majority of Americans, the greatest asset that they have in retirement is Social Security. You've been paying into this system for decades. It's time to get our money out. If you take it too early, you can have a significant haircut on that check. And because you took it early, yeah, you're getting a smaller check for a longer period of time. That makes sense, right? But that smaller check, when you live into your 70s, 80s, and 90s, it can mean the difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars you potentially are leaving on the table versus taking it at 67 or taking it at 70. Now, the interesting thing that's come to light in the last few years, because most of the lucrative claiming strategies have gone away, we see that families with $2 million or more, many of them fall into a category where they need to take Social Security early. Not because they necessarily need it, but because when you factor in the net effect of taxes and everything else in retirement, they actually see that in their 80s and 90s, they have more money. I've got plenty of episodes around claiming Social Security early. Be sure and subscribe to our channel down below. Now, the Social Security claiming strategy is also important in coordinating with your retirement date, because if you take Social Security early and you're still working, pre your full retirement age, which for most of you is 67 today, if you're still working and take Social, they hit you with an earnings cap. It's very low, $20,000 and change. If you make that or more, you get hit with an earnings cap, and they reduce your benefit $1 for every $2 you make over that $20,000 and change limit. Okay, so you don't want to get hit or blindsided by an unneeded penalty. Now, you also got the idea that you could wait till 70. Your benefit grows exponentially by more than 30% from 62 to 70. And that doesn't even include the cost of living adjustments. With COLAs over those 8 years, it could be, easily 50%, in many cases larger than taking it at 62. You think about the type of money that adds up to month by month, year by year, decade by decade throughout your retirement. So you must coordinate your Social Security. And so whether you've got $10 million or $1 million, listen to me, this is your money. It's time to get it out of the system, but it must be coordinated with your early retirement. All right, so let's say you've determined that you've saved enough to pull this off. You want to retire at 62 or 65, that's still early in today's world. So we've got enough to retire, but now it's time to put together a retirement income plan. And this may sound simple, but it's not for most, because as I've said throughout today's video, you may have money in different places. Banks, CDs, and money markets. You've got stuff in your IRAs and 401ks. Maybe you've got a brokerage account or a crypto account. Maybe you've got a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. Every one of those types of accounts, everyone is taxed differently. So we want you saving in a diversified way so that when it comes time to put together this retirement income plan, you have control. If you've done this right, if you've got a year that you're living on Roth only, you're going to report $0 of income that year. You're going to be poor on paper, the way we like it. You want to be in a position to have control. But if you withdraw too much too soon of one account and exhaust it, then you start losing the control. So you want a really well coordinated plan that's detailed on how much you're going to take from which account at which time and which account first walking into these retirement years. You can do this, but it does take coordination. You don't want to go at this alone. You want to look at consulting with your CPA or working with a fiduciary advisor. To learn more about the fiduciary standard and fiduciary advisors, be sure and watch Why You Should Hire a Fiduciary Advisor in 2024.